The Buddha opened his entire teaching with this: suffering is the first noble truth. Not as pessimism, as diagnosis. Life, he said, is characterized by dissatisfaction, pain, and the fleeting nature of everything we cling to. And yet, we live in a world that tells us the opposite every waking hour. Happiness is just around the corner. Buy this, achieve that, fix one more thing, and you will finally be fulfilled. So the question becomes, which one is true? Not which one feels better, not which one you prefer, but which one can you actually verify through your own experience? Because if the Buddha was pointing to something fundamental, then the entire game changes. You stop chasing temporary relief and begin investigating the source of suffering itself. Welcome back to Untying the Knot with Trupti. I am Trupti, and today we are going to explore something every human being encounters: suffering. Not just obvious kind: pain, loss, illness, and heartbreak. The quieter kind. The restlessness that follows you even when everything on the outside looks fine. The feeling that something is missing even when you have gotten everything you thought you wanted. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Humanity has been trying to solve suffering for thousands of years. Science gave us medicine and technology. Economics gave us prosperity. Politics gave us systems of justice. Entertainment gave us escape. Religion gave us salvation. And yet, here we are. Anxiety is rising. Loneliness is everywhere. Even the people who seem to have it all, success, recognition, security, they still wake up at 3 a.m. feeling empty. Why? The answer Vedanta gives is not what most people want to hear, but it's the only answer that actually explains the data. We spend our entire lives trying to fix our experience, change the job, change the relationship, move to a new city, buy the thing, achieve the goal. And there is nothing wrong with any of that on the surface. But here is the pattern. Every achievement gives you moment of relief. Maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks. Then the mind returns feeling incomplete. The same restlessness creeps back in. So you set a new goal, a new desire, a new solution. This is not a failure of effort. This is a failure of diagnosis. Desire arises from the feeling of lack. Because every moment we feel something is missing, it gives rise to the assumption that if I get this, I will finally feel fulfilled. But does it work? Look at your own experience. How many desires have you fulfilled? And how many brought a lasting peace? Now, many spiritual traditions will tell you that desire is the root of suffering, and that's partly true. But Vedanta goes deeper, and this distinction changes everything. The problem is not desire itself. The problem is unexamined desire. Most of our desires arise from feeling of incompleteness. There is an inner discomfort, a sense of lack, and we assume without ever questioning it that something outside of us will remove that discomfort. Let's test this honestly. Money, fame, relationships. Money provides comfort. It provides security in the material sense. But does money provide inner completeness? Have you ever met a wealthy person who was deeply at peace simply because they were wealthy? Fame provides recognition. It tells you that you matter to others. But does fame remove insecurity? Does being known by millions remove the discomfort of being alone with yourself? A loving partner provides companionship, intimacy, support. But can another person, another finite, struggling human being, permanently remove the fear, the loneliness, the incompleteness that comes from misunderstanding who you are? This is the trap. We keep asking finite things to solve an infinite problem. And then we are surprised when the relief doesn't last. But here is the shift. Most systems focus on reducing suffering, managing suffering, or finding ways to cope with suffering. But Vedanta does something radical. Instead of asking, "How do I end my suffering?" it asks a completely different question. Who is suffering? Who is this I that feels incomplete? Who is this I that constantly seeks fulfillment in the next achievement, the next relationship, the next distraction? Who is this I that fears rejection, failure, aging, and death? Think about this for a moment. We question everything in life. We question our governments. We question the people around us. We question our career choices, our relationships, our decisions. But we almost never question the one doing all the questioning, the I sense itself. Most of us live with an unspoken assumption. I feel uneasy within, so perhaps the next thing will make me feel complete. The next achievement, the next relationship, the next adventure, the next purchase. We move from an inner sense of dissatisfaction toward an external object, hoping to find fulfillment there. There is nothing wrong with exploring life. We should experiment, learn, and experience new things. But Vedanta asks us to be honest about the results. After achieving what we wanted, are we genuinely fulfilled? Has the restlessness disappeared? Or has the mind simply found a new object to chase? Think about your own experience. Whether it is overeating, endless entertainment, social media, binge watching, or the pursuit of success, there is often a familiar emptiness waiting at the end. The excitement fades, the satisfaction fades, but the seeker remains the same. The problem is not in the objects we pursue, but in the one who is pursuing them. The ego, the sense of I that feels incomplete, is the sufferer. Feeling insufficient within, it searches outside itself for fulfillment through things, relationships, beliefs, and achievements. Yet, because the search begins from incompleteness, it never truly comes to an end. Vedanta is not a marketplace offering new beliefs, techniques, or promises. Its purpose is not to please the ego, but to question it. Through inquiry, it invites us to put our assumptions to the test and gradually lay down the burdens we have been carrying for years. We carry identities, beliefs, and psychological burdens to protect this fragile sense of self. But Vedanta asks, are these necessary? What exactly are you trying to protect? This teaching invites you to question the questioner. No matter how many external changes we make, suffering continues until this internal investigation begins, because the root cause remains untouched. Now let's go a step deeper. This is where the teaching becomes both unsettling and liberating. We question almost everything in life. We compare products before buying them. We read reviews before booking a hotel. We examine ideas before accepting them. Yet there is one thing we almost never question: the sense of I itself. The ego takes its own existence as an unquestionable fact. I am seems so obvious that it never occurs to us to investigate it. Yet this same ego constantly feels incomplete, insecure, lonely, and afraid. It spends an entire lifetime trying to solve this discomfort through achievements, possessions, relationships, and experiences. But think about the contradiction for a moment. How can something that claims to be the fundamental truth also feel fundamentally lacking? It can't, and that is the clue. When this constantly changing ego self is never examined, the error continues. It quietly sits at the center of life, shaping every thought, every desire, every fear, and every conflict. That's why we see conflict everywhere, between individuals, communities, religions, genders, and nations. We try to solve these problems externally, yet they keep returning in new forms. Non-duality points to a deeper cause. Division begins with the ego the sense of being a separate self. Where there is division, conflict follows. This is why Vedanta says that Maya, the great illusion, is not some force outside you. It is not the world hiding reality from you. The illusion is the ego itself, operating from within and coloring everything it sees with fear, desire, and a sense of lack. The world is not necessarily the problem. The lens through which we look at it is. And this is actually good news. Because if suffering were caused by the world, by other people, by situations, or by the past, then freedom from it would depend on changing things outside your control. But if suffering is rooted in a misunderstanding of who you are, then freedom from suffering is in your hands. Not by becoming something new, not by acquiring something more, but by inquiring and clearly seeing what was never true in the first place. Most of our problems are not caused by inaction, but by egoic action. Actions driven by fear, insecurity, desire, and the need to protect and strengthen the self-image. Therefore, freedom is not about learning new ways for the ego to operate. It is about seeing through the ego's assumptions. When there is a me and a not me, there is always something to fear, something to lose, something to desire, something to compare yourself against. This division, this separation, is the very structure that makes suffering possible. And this is where non-duality comes in. What happens if you examine this me at the root of it all? What happens if you look directly at the one who claims to be separate? Vedanta's answer, and this is not a belief but an invitation to inquiry, is that the separate self cannot survive honest investigation. The deeper you look, the more you discover that what you took to be a solid, independent I is actually a temporary appearance, constantly changing, never stable, never complete. It is like a wave that has forgotten it is water. The moment the wave realizes it is water, the fear of crashing disappears. Whether it's up in the air or flat on the sand, it is still water. The practical shift is this. Instead of asking, how do I end my suffering? You begin to ask, who is the one that suffers? Not as a mantra, not as an affirmation to repeat mindlessly, but as the beginning of a genuine investigation. Every time you feel that familiar restlessness, the anxiety, the incompleteness, the pull toward the next desire, pause. No savior, guru, ideology, or external force can do this investigation for us. It is our life, our suffering, and ultimately our responsibility to inquire into it. This is where the root of suffering begins to dissolve, not because the world changes, but because the one who was suffering is seen for what it is and what it is not. What part of this teaching resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you are ready to go deeper than just managing thoughts, I also invite you to join our online Vedanta book club. The link is in the description below.